Alright, watch this video and I'll be right back. I'm going to tell you something very important after this. I don't think it was evil.
Read in history, and it's about Columbus meeting the natives. In his letters, he writes, "They are very simple and honest and exceedingly liberal with all they have, none of them refusing anything he may possess when he is asked for it. They exhibit great love towards all others in preference to themselves." He says, "They are the best people in the world and above all the gentlest, without knowledge of what is evil, nor do they murder or steal. They love their neighbors as themselves, and they have the sweetest talk in the world, always laughing." After saying all that, he then writes, "They would make fine servants. With 50 men, we could subjugate them all and make them do whatever we want." Is that not the most brutal thing you've ever heard? I just don't understand how we got to that point as humans. How did we let such evil people be in charge of this world?
Now, someone with their empathy intact could really imagine no other way for someone to be able to do that unless it was evil. But here's what I'm going to propose. Alcohol. Check this out. You see, alcohol is one of the only things when ingested by a pregnant woman actually alters the DNA of the unborn fetus. And it's only relatively recently that they found that out. See, they had fetal alcohol syndrome up until 1978, where they started coming out with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder when they realized it was a whole spectrum of effects. They came out with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder with a wide range of effects, and some of them so mild that they just call fetal alcohol effect. And on the milder end of the spectrum, as you can see here, give it a quick pause, the brain is only moderately affected, okay, not severely affected, and the result is a diagnosis called neurobehavioral disorder associated with prenatal alcohol exposure. And it presents with symptoms associated with impairments of neurocognition, self-regulation, and adaptive functioning. Essentially, what that would look like is a lack of empathy on the most least affected end, and a little bit more severe would be lack of empathy combined with lack of common sense, okay? The inability to regulate oneself and to imagine consequences. In colonizer culture, they also didn't know about sanitation and purification of water. So they really didn't drink water. They drank a lot of beer and a lot of alcoholic beverages daily. Their water made them sick. Could a very large portion of colonizer society have been affected with fetal alcohol effect and have a lack of empathy and common sense? Should I make a part 2?
They say natives were running around killing each other before colonizers showed up.
So that video really made a lot of people mad. You see, the main point of that video is that if you're in a violent society, you're going to develop armor and weapons. And if you're in a peaceful society, you're going to walk around mostly naked because you don't have nothing to worry about. Let me delve into this a little bit deeper, because we all know the colonial narrative where it says that, because they had more technology and they were more advanced is what allowed them to win. But I'm going to say I don't think that that's the case at all. I think it really comes down to 1,000 to 2,000 years of societal development. And if we just go to the basic hierarchy of needs, and we look at that, you need your needs met in order to get to self-actualization. You need your physiological needs, your mental needs, your emotional needs. Then it gets to your spiritual self-actualization, your purpose, your fullest self. So I think if a society lives in a state where it doesn't have its needs met, it will develop armor and weapons to be able to go into neighboring societies and take resources in order to get their needs met. Whereas if a society for 1,000 years was living with all of their needs met and at the top of the teepee in self-actualization, they would have formed a more respectful, humane society. One that is more based on spirituality. Now, the craziest part about the hierarchy of needs is that it was appropriated, actually, from the Blackfoot tribe. You see, Maslow went and spent time with the Blackfoot tribe. Pause to read. And pause to read. You see, I think he went and sat with some spiritual leaders or a medicine man, and they explained this concept to him. And he appropriated it. You see, the part that he left out is that when you live in self-actualization at the top of the teepee for centuries or generations, it leads to the next aspect of community actualization, when a whole community works together at the same level. So my theory is that the natives, for thousands of years, were living at the top of the teepee, and they developed a sense of community and mutual respect. And so when they had conflicts, death was not the goal. Whereas in European societies, they were living at the bottom of the teepee without their needs being met, so it was more of an act of survival where I need to take your resources and make sure you're not alive to consume those resources because we need enough and we don't have enough. And this all had to do with each society's respective relationship to the land, right? The European societies kind of used up all of their resources early on, while the natives, because they had the philosophy of only take what you need, there was an abundance for everybody. I think the most technological advanced society would be the one that doesn't need to kill in order to have its needs met.